the galaxy far, far away, power doesn't always come from the Force. Sometimes it comes from sheer influence, wealth, and fear, and no beings embody that better than the Hutts, massive slug-like crime lords whose reach extends from the seedy cantinas of Tatooine to the highest levels of galactic politics. From Jabba the Hutt's ruthless empire to the ancient Kajidic clans that ruled the Hutt Cartel, these gangsters shaped galactic history in their own slimy way. Today, we will go over the Hutts, their history, culture, and legacy of the galaxy's most notorious criminal masterminds. Nal Hutta. It has a diameter of 12,150 kilometers, 87 hours in its day, 413 days in its year, has a population of around 7 billion, made up of Hutts, Vipits, Evokai, and the breakdown is 43% Hutts, 29% humans, 15% Vipits, and 14% other. Languages spoken is Huttese, and they're governed by a clan council. They export tourism and contraband and import foodstuffs, high technology, and luxury goods. 15 millennia ago, the dominant Hutt clans fled the ruin of Varl for Evokar, a temperate world in the YouTube system. A scattering of Hutts had settled Evokar centuries before, but left the planet in the hands of its natives, the peaceful humanoid Evokai. Now, through legal cunning and brute force, the Hutts and their Vipit servants disenfranchised and exiled the Evokai, then leveled Evokar's rainforests to make stagnant swamps. When their work was done, the Hutts renamed their prize Nal Hutta, or Glorious Jewel in Huttese. Nal Hutta is home to the Hutt Ground Council, and every Kajidic of note maintains estates there, vast, gloomy tracts of swampland dotted with grandiose palaces within which the Hutts scheme and plot against one another. Traditionally, only Huttese may be spoken on Nal Hutta, but in practice, the sheer number of Hutt slaves, servants, and sycophants makes such a prohibition impossible. Nonetheless, no non-Hutt ever feels entirely comfortable on Nal Hutta's dank surface. Nal Hutta sits at the nexus of three trade routes. The Utmian Pabul wends its way coreward past lesser Hutt worlds such as Nar Heka and Du Hutta to Quen Space Station and the Mid-Rim. Its eventual terminus is Gindyne in the expansion region. The Shag Pabal leads rimward, passing Kajidic holdings and the famed Hutt slave markets on Rorak, on its way to a string of slave worlds. It exits Hutt Space at Outland Transit Station in the Baxel sector, one of many imperial sectors dominated by the Hutts. Finally, the Pabal Hutta runs across the length of Hutt Space. Few charts detail the space lanes between Silheiron and Varl. Spacers' tales tell of world after world despoiled by the Hutts eons ago, vast tracts of space where nothing remains alive. But Cantina talk also may turn to the Butana Hutta, home to the unimaginably lush and opulent throne worlds where the Kajidics stockpile their finest treasures and safeguard their deepest secrets. Hutt. Hutts are large, amphibious gastropods that presently inhabit the world of Nal Hutta in the YouTube system, the center of an area of the galaxy known as Hutt Space. They have thick bodies with a long, muscular tail and small arms that protrude from their upper torsos. Physiologically, the Hutts are an anomaly, sharing traits from a variety of species. Like sea mammals, their nostrils can close, with their large lungs enabling them to stay underwater for hours at a time. Like worms, they are hermaphrodites, possessing both male and female reproductive organs. Like marsupial mammals, they bear their young one at a time and nourish them in a brood pouch during their earlier stages of development. Despite all these varied qualities, scientists generally classify Hutts as gastropods because of the way they move, slithering around like giant slugs. They have no skeleton to speak of, merely an internal mantle that supports their bodies and shapes their heads. Their mouths open so wide that they can swallow just about any small creatures whole, allowing them to frequently indulge their taste for live snacks. Hutts also possess extremely tough skin that protects them against heat and chemical burns, with their mucus and sweat making their skin surface very slippery while also keeping their bodies moist. Though hermaphroditic, the average Hutt possesses a notably healthy sexual appetite, even for members of other species. In fact, some Hutts have been known to assume male or female gender roles and pursue bigender relationships, a behavior that sociologists attribute to societal contamination from contact with bigendered species. Medical specialists disagree, deeming the alternate lifestyle a product of nature that certain Hutts simply cannot deny, given their ability to select their own genders. Whatever the reason might be, many normal Hutts consider this behavior a perversion and scorn those who choose gender roles, sometimes to the point of enacting violence and murder upon them. Hutts are among the longest-lived species in the galaxy, with a maximum lifespan of roughly 1,000 standard years. During such a lifetime, they can grow in size to more than 1,500 kilograms, and because they are so long-lived, Hutts rarely reproduce. When they do, many Hutts assume female roles in order to bear young. Infant Hutts are blind and extremely small, and they will move to a parent's pouch, where they remain for around 50 years. When they finally leave the pouch, they have matured to an intellectual level comparable to that of a typical 10-year-old human. As they move toward adulthood, they gain in corpulence, a trait considered a sign of power and prestige. Hutt culture is essentially egocentric. They consider themselves the center of the galaxy, and on the worlds they control are likened unto gods. A Hutt's success in life is comparable only to its ego, and a Hutt's ego can be tremendous. They are experts at manipulating others and getting them to do their bidding. Before inhabiting Nal Hutta, the Hutts evolved on a planet known as Varl, a temperate forest world with two suns that the species worshipped as gods. In Hutt religious beliefs, one of the sun gods, Avona, was pulled into a black hole. When this happened, the other planets in the system collided and crushed each other into numerous asteroids that bombarded the planet Varl. The second sun god, named Ardos, collapsed itself into a white dwarf out of grief over losing its mate. Hutts believed that they had actually become greater than the gods they once worshipped as a result of their surviving the destruction of their original system. There is no absolute scientific substantiation for the Hutt's religious tale. However, most scientists tend to believe another version that is told by spacers and traders throughout the galaxy. This story indicates that the Hutts destroyed their own planet in a civil war, the likes of which had not been witnessed anywhere in the known galaxy. Nal Hutta is ruled by a council containing the eldest members of the so-called clans of the ancients. These clans are families that can trace their ancestry back to their days on Varl. The means by which the council makes decisions is a mystery, in that the Hutts will not allow outsiders to observe the governmental proceedings. Hutts all over the galaxy, even those on the farthest outskirts, abide by the decisions of the council. For Hutts, blood is always thicker than slime. A Hutt's clan is paramount, particularly one's Kajidic, or criminal family, and most decisions are based upon how they will affect the prosperity and the position of one's clan. Vast ancestral fortunes, passed on from generation to generation, have resulted in Hutt clans controlling some of the richest holdings in the galaxy. Rivalries among Kajidics are widespread and often dangerous to those involved. Assassination as a means of achieving an end is commonplace. And although it is unforgivable, but not unheard of, for a Hutt to kill another Hutt, they would think nothing of executing an underling. The Hutts in general are not builders, manufacturers, or inventors. They are entrepreneurs, constantly connecting someone who needs something with someone else who can fulfill that need. More often than not, Hutts head up giant criminal empires that are secretive and vast, and a majority of the major illegal transactions made in the galactic business world likely have a Hutt connected to them in one way or another. Galaxy-wide, most illegal activities have a Hutt at their source, whether it be the spice trade, smuggling, gambling, or slavery. The one area in which Hutts excel and seem to take particular pride is their aptitude for slavery. Befitting their oversized egos and substantial appetites, Hutts will trade beings as easily and with as little afterthought as they would exchange nerf hides. During the Clone Wars era, Hutts controlled all the slave trade on Tatooine and Ryloth. The Hutt penchant for subjugating other species has its roots in Hutt history, starting with their enslavement of the Klatooinians, Vodrins, and Nikto through unfair trade agreements. At the end of the New Republic era, the Yuuzhan Vong destroyed Nal Hutta, forcing the Hutts to seek a new homeworld. Because several Hutts such as Jabba, Gardulla, and Dekka had established bases on Tatooine over the years, it was chosen as their new primary home planet. That is Nal Hutta and the Hutts. Let me know what you thought of this species down in the comments down below, and feel free to suggest alien species for Season 3, as this is the final episode of Season 2 of the Aliens in Star Wars series. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and until next time, thanks for watching.